I'm resident of Collinwood, Jewel States for YouTube. I'm joined by my buddy Gordon Dymowski, my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to discuss episode 666, written by Ron Sproat, directed by Dan Curtis. So I picked this episode. Obviously, it's when Barnabas goes back, wheels himself back in time, and they're nearing the end of that journey, and he's coming. They're gonna chain him into the coffin, Ben Stokes, I should say. And lo and behold, that we found out that Nathan Forbes has been released from prison, been bailed out of prison, if you will, by Natalie Dupre. And she wants Forbes to stay Barnabas in the heart. And I love Joel Carruthers in this episode because he's like, "Are you sure about this? He's very like cowardice in a way, and I love how she calls him on it too. Like,
He has become his own Noah Gifford.
Yes.
he really has in this
It's not
episode.
full cycle.
Yeah, he has too. And it's really cool that you get to see him be in the Nathan Forbes the outfit, the uniform one more time. You see the sideburns coming down.
You see a lot in the uniform.
Yeah, he looks really good. And I love how Natalie's got this star on her chin. It looks really cool. It stands out. And when they go in, you see the coffin raise up, you see the hammer, and as it's supposedly coming down, you see the credits, and then you see the beginning. And after you come back, here comes Ben Stokes to the rescue. And I love David. He does a really good job wrestling around with Joel Carruthers.
I'm a murderer now. I'm a murderer all over again. I get my freedom and I become a murderer, Mr. Barnabas. Oops.
Well, that's the thing. History. Think about it. They talked about this when Victoria came back initially. How 1795 keeps reliving itself. And this is sort of your proof of that in a sense. Now, because even when Barnabas goes back again after 1897, it's reliving itself again. So you actually get to see that first here, which is really, really cool. Post Victoria winners, really great job storytelling, how, it keeps repeating itself, and you can change, even though no matter what you change, the events keep repeating, so you can keep going back, which is awesome. Yes. I love that sort of why this episode is important, because it stands that point out for the biggest point. Another thing I love, and I'm going to hear you guys still. I'm sorry I'm talking so much.
No, it's your show.
One of my favorite effects in this episode, I love the appearance of Josette's ghost in this at the end. Signaling that, appearing in front of Willie of all people. And I love John Carlin's reaction to it. Another cool thing, I love how they shoot the cemetery sequence, how dark and spooky it looks in this episode, especially. Go ahead, guys. Gordon?
Well, this episode does a lot of heavy lifting because it's ending kind of one mini arc, and it's transitioning into the next arc. I think it gets a lot of plot out of the way, because you've got to resolve the whole. It's kind of like they had some loose ends they needed to tie up. So what do we do about Countess Dupre and Nathan Forbes, who kind of sort of know that Barnabas is as a vampire? Well, you have Ben kill him, and Ben Stokes is the guy you want to have as a friend. I mean, he will kill someone and bury them in an unmarked grave for his friends. That's the kind of friendship you need to have.
I agree.
But not you, Joel, because
he'll
people
take
bury.
advantage.
Mm-hmm. and I think the idea that this time with time travel, with Victoria, it was like Collinwood essentially, they claimed it like stood still while Victoria had her adventures. They're kind of suggesting that Barnabas is kind of having that his travel and what's happening in present day Collinwood is happening parallel. Because Willie has the great idea of, hey, look, he'd be in the coffin. And there's even kind of like a little kind of reminder, a little of, hey, remember when I went in the coffin and Barnabas choked me out like a dude? Well, he'll be there.
You can rely on him. That's a friend you can rely on.
Patrick, what did you think of this episode, man?
I think it's both plump and juicy, and you don't get both of those things very often. All seriousness aside, I think it is the end of what I consider to be the actual Dark Shadows movie. I really do. It's about when you put what I call, these are the time trap episodes, and there's even a section in the daybook which is called Time Trap, which covers these, as you no doubt know. And so I'm a big fan of these. I think, well, they were Christmas 1968. So, we did, 1795 last year. What are we going to do this year? And we'll do 1796. It is compact, because I think you got to talk about the whole time trap sequence. I mean, I can talk about just this episode, but this episode is largely expository, in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of info dump stuff, because the prior episodes where you get all the emotional, I love you too, Tin Man, and you too, Scarecrow, as Roger Davis is going away. And so in this case, I think it's I hate to rag on House of Dark Shadows. It's just so easy. This is my Dark Shadows movie. You got your Angelique, and she gets her just desserts. You got some Victoria Winters. You got some time travel. You've got a sequence that begins it to remind the audience what went on. And if they didn't see it, if they came in during the Atom stuff, to remind them or let them know what was happening, you basically get a clip show, winding it up. And then, a fully actualized Barnabas, a Barnabas who is the hero that, the show is okay with admitting it now, goes on this eleemosynary mission to save Victoria with hints of Quentin. Quentin has kind of set the whole thing up. And by Quentin, I mean Judah Zachary, another attempt by him to get rid of Barnabas. So, good God, there's a whole lot going on. Nothing happens on Dark Shadows until everything happens. And it is a show that really takes the idea of everything happening really seriously. And in this case, it's just hell's a poppin'. This is the stuff. This is right up there with any Robert Zemeckis time travel story or anything like that. It's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's with vampires.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys. If Dan Curtis, when he was deciding to do a movie, if he would have said to Sam Hall and Gordon Russell, you know what, guys, let's just take 1795 and redo it, but as a complete movie, how would you have felt about that?
They wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
The more interesting fish out of water story is not Victoria Winters as the fish out of water, because she's not a vampire. She doesn't have superpowers and stuff. And she doesn't have huge sort of secrets that she's trying to hide, except that, she's from the future. But other than that, she's not she doesn't have Maggie, captured in the back room while, somebody's trying to install a hot tub or something on the bank. So, if you're going to do a core sample Dark Shadow story like that, It's got to be Barnabas coming out of the coffin. It's all of the stuff that they did in House of Dark Shadows, but they underestimated the audience.
Yeah.
I think, it was this case where they didn't know what they had. They thought, well, we're doing a vampire thing and we got the new ratings code in. It's going to be GP. It'll be really crazy. And, blood and Carolyn in a diaphanous gown and all of that's fine. But the charm, the fun is what was missing. And, it's sort of funny. It's like what the Tim Burton movie took everything that wasn't in House of Dark Shadows and just turned the color and contrast up all the way to the point that they thought, oh, it'll be extra good this way. We'll throw in tons of MSG. But there's like so much in it that you can't, there's too much charm, thus making it charmless. I don't think I answered your question. You're welcome.
No, it's okay. Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think they would have ever done 1795 because there's no interest. And I think with this sequence, it's especially this episode, it's a lot more faster paced. Whereas with House of Dark Shadows, there's someone from MGM going, let's hammer this up. Let's make this a Christopher Lee Dracula movie with the serial number filed off. And nothing wrong with Christopher Lee's Dracula, but he's not Barnabas Collins. Although I would really love to see a cage match between Christopher Lee's Dracula and Jonathan Pryce's Barnabas Collins, because somebody's getting hit with a metal chair.
If you're gonna do Hammer, get the parachute pants. But seriously,
Right.
if you're gonna do Hammer, have Barnabas and Stokes team up against Mokata from Devil Rides Out.
There you go.
And his good buddy, the Goat of Mendes, who I love in that movie. He's just hanging out. He's just at like this barbecue, which is the ritual. They throw salt and mercury at him, and the Goat of Mendes is like, huh? What? Me? Ah! And
What would have been really interesting is if they would have cast Christopher Lee in the protagonist role.
As Vicky Winters?
No. As instead of Roger Davis, they would have cast Christopher Lee, but made it more believable.
Hey, Chris is a swinger. He's landing Maggie Evans. Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for Chris. You go. This is the scuba diving Christopher Lee of Airport 77. That was my introduction to Christopher Lee.
Oh my God. What's you guys' favorite scene for this episode?
I think it's a gestalt, really. I think the stuff between Willie and Julia is really, really great. Any of that. I think John Carlin actually steals this episode.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, I can tell you. It's where Willie and Julia are at the coffin, and they go into this vaudeville routine. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, well, let's release him. Okay, well, maybe we shouldn't. All right. Well, no, let's release him. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we shouldn't. They had to know they were doing vaudeville patter. I mean, they had to.
Yeah, they're debating the dilemma of re-releasing the vampire.
It's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. I mean, it's really there's an exchange of just maybe 1 or 2 lines where it completely becomes Abbott and Costello.
Another cool effect.
Costello.
Yeah, another cool effect I like too. The chains going back on the coffin just magically. How they did that was really cool. Gordon, what's your favorite scene, man?
I think my favorite scene has to be the Julia and Willie banter at the let's let him go. Oh, I don't know.
So good. Yeah.
In fact, at one point I expected Julia to say, Willie, can I get you a sedative because you're a little hyper right now?
I expect Willie to look at the camera and say, as always, the doctor is out.
Hey, what do you got? What are you guys doing Friday at 9:45 p.m.?
Whatever you say. That's me. I can speak.
Well, Well, you guys can do Escape from New York with me and Butch.
That's a good movie. Yeah. With our
9:45.
Yeah, that has our greatest British American president.
Yes.
The Duke of New York. Number one. So how did you win a campaign with that accent? You commie? Jeez Louise, Don.
John Carpenter bribed the right officials.
He really did. He really did.
Oh my God. Leave it. I love the Lee Van Cleef. The fact that we get Lee Van Cleef and Kurt Russell in the movie together is so awesome.
This is the first Lee Van Cleef movie I ever saw.
Mine was actually Fist for a Few Dollars More. That was my first Lee Van Cleef.
I think you got a couple of titles elided there. A Fist for a Few Dollars More.
Sorry, for a Few Dollars More.
Yeah, I don't think Lee Van Cleef was in that one. Chuck Connors maybe, but not Lee Van Cleef.
For a Few Dollars More, the second of which is the best to me of the Leone trilogy. God. My words, I'll fumble them all night long, folks.
You just keep going. It's perfect.
I really like the effects in this episode. They're really, really great. The effects in Dark Shadows, despite what some might think, aged greatly. I think they still look as good as they originally did. And the fact that they pulled off with such crisp shooting and the acting around it makes it all the more believable and fun to watch. That's something I really enjoyed going back and watching this episode. I watched it 3 times today. I was like, God, this was so good. And still is, and still looks great.
Well, it's good to be the king. Dan got to take I think, a little extra time setting up those shots and the lighting, and it does have it's not just confirmation bias. I mean, there really is a richness to these visually.
To me too, like when I went back and watched this episode, I watched the episode where Barnabas went back in time, like where he disappeared in front of Julia. And I noticed something, like the cemetery scenes in this episode do look darker than what they did in that episode. So I see what you're saying. Like the lighting looks a lot like really good, because when you want a cemetery, you want it to look dark and look like they're in darkness in nighttime. And I love how it looks. It gives that creepy feel to it. Even if the cemetery's fake, it still looks good. So
yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything you guys want to add about this episode?
I think it's a lot of fun. My only advice is watch all the ones around it, to get the whole time trap story.
Now,
Friday. This is an arc that I do show people who either have never seen Dark Shadows or who saw it a long time ago, and they're fans, but they need to get sort of a good, just solid, nice storyline over the course of 2.5 hours in an evening. Yeah, this is my go-to.
When I was leaving my dermatologist appointment, I spent 20 minutes talking about Dark Shadows and what it was. And one lady's like, "You watch Dark Shadows? How old are you? You know about that show?" I'm like, "I'm 40. I know about it."
You served in the culture wars.
Mm-hmm.
Full heart.
Yeah, you bear the scars.
Show him the marks.
Friday is going to be Escape from New York, guys. But Saturday could be our next episode video, unless you need Sunday. Is Saturday good for you guys for episode? It's Gordon's turn.
Yeah, I'm good on Saturday.
It's your turn to pick, Gordon.
Oh, okay. Let me look one thing up. There's an episode that I have in mind, but I don't remember the actual name, the actual number.
I've got a good title for a Star Trek episode, just to be a generic Star Trek episode that you could convince anyone was an episode of the original series but never existed. The Eden Epidemic.
Yeah.
That just
Let's
sounds
do-
like
I want to do 968. And the reason I want to do it is that it's the death of Philip Todd. Jewel thinks, Jewel and I think have been back and forth on it, because I think one of us thinks that he was pushed off, the other thinks that he fell, and I just want to settle it once and for all.
I will referee.
He was going for that Evil Knievel record, dog. That's what that is.
Well, I think Megan did a little better than Mr. Knievel was. If he's going for that record.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My God, it's the Snake River
what-
Canyon.
What time do you guys want for Saturday?
What's good for you?
I could do 9:45 then too, if that's okay.
45. Is that okay?
That's okay with me.
Okay, so 9:45 Friday night for Escape, 9:45 for Saturday for a Dark Shadows episode. Guys, first of all, thank you so much for joining me on this one tonight and joining me on these episodes. These are a lot of fun to discuss.
Jewel, good choice. Really good choice on this one.
Thank you. Links to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page will be in the description box. Links to the Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound will be in the description box. If you haven't picked it up, go pick it up. Guys, you have a good night.
Sniff wisely.
Bye.